Are you looking to form a new partnership? Here's a checklist of items you need to use before saying, I do. Hey, I'm Morgan Davis. I'm a cannabis attorney based in Raleigh, North Carolina. Let's talk about how to keep your business protected and thriving. So spring is coming and the birds are buzzing. The bees, what is it? It's the birds are chirping, the bees are buzzing. Anyway, basically all the animals are trying to get together, right? Same time of year, lots of businesses start forming. And that happens all year round, but it's spring. So let's pretend we're all doing what the animals do. If you followed Davis Legal for a while, then you've heard me talk about partnerships before. And you know that how I feel about partnerships is that partnerships are like marriages. And there's lots of things you need to do before you marry somebody. And much like marriages, in the beginning, they're lovely and they're rosy and everything is great and you're excited and the world is your oyster. And then sometime after the honeymoon, the work of life comes back in and you have disagreements and you get to know the person and suddenly you're 2 years in and you're like, oh my God, the fact that you do that thing with your shoes drives me absolutely insane and I absolutely want to kill you. Business partnerships are the exact same way. You share finances, you share liabilities, you have to deal with each other's idiosyncrasies, you have to share each other's responsibilities and secrets. You create children together that are your business endeavors, and you have to make decisions about those children together. Some might say you could avoid this all by just being professional and never being attached to your business. But as any entrepreneur will tell you, that's just not how it goes. It requires passion. It requires attachment to do what most entrepreneurs do, to do what most businesses do. What's the saying? If you love what you'll do, you'll never work a day in your life. Well, if you love something, then you're attached to it. And the idea of having to share it with somebody else naturally brings in all the issues that you see in partnerships all the time. So what do you do to lay the groundwork to make sure that your partnership takes off on a good foundation, that it has a path forward that is useful to you, that's beneficial to you and your partner, and that doesn't hopefully ultimately result in divorce or dissolution of that partnership? I have created a checklist over the years of things that I recommend people do in what I like to call a due diligence period. Now, I didn't come up with that term. Due diligence is a known thing, especially in the M&A space. But a lot of people, especially entrepreneurs, small to medium businesses, people who are just starting out in business, or people who are going through their first merger, aren't familiar with the due diligence process. They certainly don't go through it the way that large companies go through it, where it's months and months of courting and looking at each other's documents and sharing information. A lot of times it's a handshake. It's an agreement. It's a relationship that's developed that's almost a friendship. Sometimes it's family. Sometimes it's just really close colleagues. And you're like, yeah, we really gel together. We've got a great idea. Let's go forward. And you're so excited. You do away with the idea or don't even think about all the things you should be doing to decide if it's a good idea. Not just is the idea or the business venture itself a good idea, but is the partnership a good idea? So here's my checklist. 1, define the why of it all. Why do you want this partnership? Why is it good for you? Why is it good for your potential partner or partners? What's the benefit? What's the downside? What are your expectations, hopes, and dreams from the partnership? What are theirs? Do they overlap? I really do suggest spending several days, if not weeks, with your potential partners and having these high-level but very personal conversations about both the business vision and plan and desires, as well as your personal vision and plan and desires. Because if you start from a place of agreeing that why you're doing it matches, then that's a great part of your foundation, that at least your springboard was from the same point of view. If you don't have that, if you find that in fact you want to do it for one reason, they want to do it for a completely different reason. And when they tell you your reason, you're kind of like, I don't know how I feel about that. That's a red flag that you should listen to. 2, mission, vision, values, and goals. I know that lots of people talk about this process, and they mostly talk about it once you've already formed a business. But I suggest doing this up front, especially when you're forming a partnership, because you need to agree on all those things. You need to have the same mission, vision, and values and goals. And going through the exercise of creating them will tell you how well you work together, how well you dream together, how well you strategize together, and how well you communicate. Communication, like in all relationships, is the first breakdown point of most partnerships. Do the exercises up front. If you're worried about sharing your ideas and that you get through this process and they might take them and run off and do it on their own, get an NDA, get a joint venture agreement. Call me, I'll help you draft one. If you're still worried after we do those things that they might take your ideas and run with them, don't be in partnership with those people. That's a red flag you should pay attention to. 3, look under their hood. Are they already in business? If so, what are that business's financials? Try and get their P&Ls, try and get their taxes, talk to their employees, talk to their customers if they'll let you, talk to their other business partners. That's how you figure out what someone is like in business. It also helps you figure out what are their current responsibilities and what is your expectation of them in this joint venture. Do they have the bandwidth for what you expect, for what they're telling you they can do? Do you? Another huge point of contention is often one partner ends up doing more than the other, or several partners end up doing more than one partner, and this resentment builds. Whereas if the expectations are up front, listen, I'm a silent partner, I can give you the money, I can give you some advice, I can be an advisor, but I'm not going to be a day-to-day guy. And the other person says, well, I can do day-to-day, this is my passion, I want to do this full-time, great. Then you've set the expectations. Whereas if you don't do that, and day-to-day person expects everybody's going to be day-to-day. An advisor person says, well, no, I never thought that, but you never had that conversation, that resentment will happen. And if you can't communicate it well with one another, it will result in the end of your partnership. Here's a crucial point under looking under the hood. If you have a company and you're merging with another company, do not skip this part. You need to know everything there is to know about that company. And if your company is coming into the fold, you need to be willing and able to share everything there is to know about your company. You want to get their existing operating agreement. You want all of their corporate governance documents. You want to know who the employees are, who the customers are, taxes, financials, talk to the accountant, talk to their lawyer. If they have an HR person, talk to their HR person. If they have a compliance person, talk to their compliance person. If they have existing major contracts, you want to look at them and you want to talk to the people that those contracts are with. Why? Because this tells you the existing liabilities and potential points of issue that you're going to now be involved in if you become in business with that company. If you don't know these things and you form a partnership, you have now bought somebody else's house as is. And that means it's now yours as is. Crappy plumbing and all. HVAC that fails 2 weeks and all. Number 4, money, money, money. Where's the money coming from? Where's it going? Who's responsible? How is it being divvied up? Whose money goes in first? Whose money comes out first? Money, money, money. People get real sore about money. It's understandable. Money is a dirty topic for most of us. But in business, it is a very necessary topic. And when you're doing well, it is everybody's favorite topic. But it needs to be the topic no matter what the situation, no matter whether you're doing well or not, from day one. You've got to be able to talk about money. You've got to be able to talk about it in a way that is constructive for all parties involved. Because if you don't know where the money's coming and going from, then it will cause major issues, not just between you, but also ultimately down the line for whether or not your business is successful. Finally, partnership agreements, or as you've heard me talk about before, operating agreements. These are must-have documents, not maybe, must-have. Go back and view my YouTube video on operating agreements that'll talk about all the liability concerns and the reason you should want it anyway for you. But in the partnership lens, they are must-have documents because this is the same thing as a prenuptial agreement or a postnuptial agreement. It tells you how you're getting in, what your roles and responsibilities are, how you bring in investors, who's allowed to be brought in as an investor, who's managing the day-to-day, who's responsible for what the fiduciary duties are, and on and on and on. It also tells you, most importantly, in the event that you want out, how you get out. Without this document, you are going to be left to your own devices, or worse, the devices of whatever your partners decide. Let me give you an example. A company very, very excited about a partnership with another major company who seems to be doing better than them is offered an opportunity to create a joint venture. So these two companies are kind of come together and create a joint venture, which then is going to launch into this beautiful vision of a new platform that's going to sell all these products, and you're going to take the two names, one slightly bigger than the other, and create a third name that's just going to break into the marketplace and sell like bananas, and everybody's going to be millionaires, right? You're so little smaller company, a little bit less doing well, but not doing well as bigger company. So excited. They sign the documentation sent to them by the bigger company without asking too many questions. They never asked to see an operating agreement. They never asked to become part of the existing operating agreement. They never do a joint venture agreement. They never put on paper what the agreement is as to the financials. Month and a half later, bigger company ices them out, declares bankruptcy, and disappears into the night. Smaller company is left holding a $75,000 bag of expenses that they now don't know what to do with. And the only option they have is to go to court to try and enforce a verbal agreement. That is a very common nightmare scenario that nobody wants to be involved in. So save yourself time, money, and sanity. Do an operating agreement. My checklist is for those who are trying to form a partnership, who are thinking about forming a partnership. These are the things that I can help walk you through if you're worried about doing it on your own. But whether or not you do it with me or on your own or with somebody else, make sure that you conduct a due diligence process before you get married, before you enter a business partnership. Otherwise, you may find yourself divorced a lot faster than you think.